I have a theory about musical ability. Um, I think that people are born with a certain degree that runs the gamut from none to musical genius. And then what happens with that is up to the person. I think, a lot of successful musicians will tell you how much work goes into what they do, all the practice, the years and years of practice. I think that the more talent that you're born with, the more successful you can become if you work with it, and maybe it takes maybe a little less work for musical geniuses than it does for people who are born with only a certain amount of musical ability. And I am more than halfway convinced that I was cursed to be born with just enough musical talent that I have had an undying, unwavering interest in performing, but yet not nearly enough to be a musical genius or anything beyond mediocre. I feel like I was, and this is not me trying to fish for compliments or get someone to tell me, no, you're great. No, this is just this is just based on logic and my own experience. And, I don't think I have all the answers. This is just my own theory. But anyway, I'll explain why that I feel like it's been a curse to me in some ways. And, this is an extremely important aspect to my personality, a core ingredient of my personality, and has had a great deal of effect on why I'm where I am right now in life, why my life is the way that it is. The 3 years or so that I actually had professional piano gigs, and became a certain group of people who only knew me as the pianist at the bistro or the pianist at Samurai. That was like bliss for me. It felt like the identity that I had always wanted. I'd like to say that I felt like it was the identity that I always should have had, but no, because, if I had been born with a massive amount of talent or had put more effort into my music over the years, then yeah, maybe that's what I should have been. But anyway, so I was born into a family on my father's side, definitely, with a lot of musical talent genes. A large number of aunts, uncles, cousins, grandmother, all played an instrument of some sort, and or did vocals. So I was, and of course I was raised in a, very musical church, so I was around music from the time that I was born, and my own talents were spotted fairly early on. I remember my mom had an old cassette tape of me when I was 2 years old, singing a few church songs, most of which I didn't even understand the lyrics to, so maybe I didn't pronounce some of the words right, but I was completely in tune. And also I showed an early interest in piano, and there was, well, I believe when I was probably about 6, my parents paid for me to have piano lessons for a little while. I have no idea how long. I was too young to have that concept of time yet, but I learned how to read very basic music, and then, but I never did understand time signature at all. And then Mom and Dad could no longer afford to give me the lessons, I think. And so then from that point, all I had was just whatever I could figure out on my own. Mom, would buy me books from time to time. And when I was about 11 maybe, they bought an upright piano for me, so I had something to play at the house. And I was in band in junior high. I played clarinet, and I was actually pretty good at that. Well, anyway, I played that in church also for quite a while. But anyway, while I was in band, finally the concept of time signature sank in, and so at this point, I could read music on a mediocre level, and I also would I would practice at church on the church piano. We usually got to church early, I think because my stepdad did like the books or something, and so I would play around on the piano there, and I eventually they eventually needed a pianist, and I was really the only person available, so I started playing piano in the church services. And of course we had our songbooks, and I could read them okay, but we also did a lot of songs that weren't written down at all, and so I had to learn to play by ear a little bit, but I was never good at it. I mean, I knew, the basic chords for most major keys, the basic major chords. I knew what a minor chord was. That's about as far as that went. I did have a pianist and organist there who taught me some things, but still, whenever we were going to play a song that wasn't in the book, I would always have to look over at the organist to find out what key it was in, and even then, I would mess up sometimes when we were playing. I was just, I was maybe what you would call adequate, but I was never what you would call very good even. And I did sing some. I was always interested in singing, but I was also very shy in a lot of ways, and you know, it's kind of surprising considering the kind of church that I was in and how musically oriented it was, but I never got any real encouragement with my vocals, so I guess I just always thought that they were subpar. So, anyway, so, you know, by the time I leave church, I was about 19, so, and I'd first started playing piano probably about, I guess maybe it was about 7, so by this point I've been stumbling along on the piano for like 12 years, and, I think when from the time I left church till I was probably about 25, no, I think 21, 22, okay, I didn't really, do very much with my music. I had bought a keyboard, but I just, I don't know, I was young, there was a lot going on at the time. I was much more interested in my social life, and of course I had college going on part of that time, and it was just kind of on a back burner. And then I met these guys in a band that I hung around all the time. I was sort of a groupie. Eventually ended up dating the lead guitar player for a while. He's the one who thought I was the one. And I finally got in my first band, and I really don't know how I even got the gig. They were looking for a female vocalist, and looking back at it now, I know I just had so little experience with vocals that, and I had no, you know, polish whatsoever, didn't know any kind of pro techniques or anything. But I did get the gig for a while, and I also played very light keyboard in that. I mean, I still really didn't know how to play, and I had a blast with it. I mean, I was young and in good shape, and had broken free of my shell and loved getting up there to perform on stage and dressing up and all this. That didn't last for a real long time because I was just, you know, not very good. And I guess 2 or 3 years went by. I somehow started playing with this country band, and I've never liked country music, never been a fan. I mean, I have worlds of respect for the old school country artists, but it's just, I've always been a rock and roll girl, you know, and That's just not my, country's not been my thing. But, I mean, this was a fun band. Country music was and still is extremely popular around here. And, you know, I actually, well, I enjoyed playing with this band. The stuff was a lot easier, you know, considering that it was country music. And then some point while I was with this band, I finally got the inspiration when I went to a music shop that I hadn't been in before, and I saw a sign in the window that said piano lessons, and I suddenly got the urge to well, give this person a call and see if I could actually legitimately learn how to play music. And I will pause this here and continue in the next video.